Hello, my name is Farah Lawal Harris, and I'm the Artistic Director of Young Playwrights Theater. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And thank you for joining us for the February 2021 post-workshop reading of Act Two of The House by Savannah S. Miller. Savannah, I want to start by congratulating you on your progress. And I'd also like to thank our talented ensemble of actors, the YPT staff who helped this whole workshop reading come together, as well as our video editor. Young Playwrights in Progress is a season-long script development program where I work alongside early career playwrights to develop and workshop their original full-length plays. Savannah and I have been meeting monthly since August of 2020 to develop her play, The House. For those of you who are viewing this Q&A discussion live, we'll be taking questions and comments and feedback from the virtual reading of Act Two of The House, which just premiered on YouTube, in the live chat section. So please, if you have any questions or comments, you can put them in there, and we'll do our best to address them. Also, if you missed the virtual workshop reading of Act One or of Act Two of The House, you're in luck because they are on YPT's YouTube channel. So you'll be able to access them and come back to this video so that you can hear Savannah's answers and you can hear the discussion surrounding her play. So Savannah, do you want to introduce yourselves to our audience?
Sure. So my name's Savannah. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a current senior at Dartmouth College, all the way up in New Hampshire, and I'm coming from you live from Hanover. I'm a theater major, and I have a double minor in English and Russian, and I'm very, very passionate about theater, about playwriting specifically, but then also about arts education. And this has been a great experience on all accounts.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I just want to say congratulations again. I've enjoyed working with you so much over these past few months. Just watching your play get more specific and nuanced and more emotionally resonant, and just with every single draft. So I just want to thank you for your commitment to this process, for your willingness to try new things and look at your play and your characters in different ways. It's been really enriching to be able to be part of this experience of developing this work. So while the audience is sharing their feedback and questions in the live chat, I do have some questions that I've prepared for you. And the first one is just, how do you feel like after experiencing the virtual workshop reading of both acts of your play? What's going on with you now? How do you feel?
Yeah, it's really rewarding to get to actually like see and hear the words that I've been writing for. This play is about 3.5, 4 years old now, but I think, like I said yesterday, it's done the most of its maturing in the last few months. So it's just been a really rewarding process, and it's really nice to see that it's resonating with people and to see the comments and stuff. So yeah, it's a very fulfilling process. So
that's wonderful. Now, what messages do you want the audience to walk away with after seeing The House? You know, especially for folks who saw Act One last night and were, you know, on the edges of their seats to figure out what happened today. And now that they saw Act Two, what do you want them to walk away with?
Yeah, I think there are a few messages that I wanted to convey, but I think two of the big ones are just like the different roles that family can take in our lives, and like what we owe our family and love and that kind of thing, and the power of reconciliation. I think we were talking about it right before this went live, about how even at the end, when it seems like Tony is completely done, he still says, "Give me a call." To me, that doesn't feel like a finite ending, and I don't want it to. And then also, I think based on Act One, I hope that audience members are taking away that you should recognize kind of your own blind spots and listen to others and the experiences of others. And always learn and grow, because we can all do that. So I hope that those are a couple things the audience took away.
Those are beautiful messages, like, you know, in regard to that conversation we were having about Tony. And the fact that like part of family is forgiveness and change, you know, and like one of the beautiful things I love about theater is that it shows us how to be humans in a different way, and how everyone has the capacity for change. So just even seeing the journey of Daniel from the beginning of the play to the end, he obviously is going to encounter some sort of change. We did watch him experience a change, and how beautiful is that regardless of what mistakes we make, what missteps we make, what I walked away with is that you can always be better, and it's going to hurt. It's going to be hard, and you might really hurt others, but there's hope at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, thank you for imparting those messages on our audience members. I want to check to see if we have any comments to share from our audience. Okay, the first one's from Britt. Hey, Britt. Britt says, congrats, Savannah, and everyone who worked on the reading. Thank you, Britt. Anyone else? Anne, hello. Anne said, what an ending. Wow, that final scene with the two brothers really packs a punch. Congratulations, Savannah. Congratulations, too, to the very talented cast. Thank you for that comment, Anne. We appreciate it. Okay, and Roberta. Hi, Roberta. Roberta says, congratulations to all. Wonderful work. We appreciate that, you all. Like, keep them coming, keep the encouragement coming. We have a brilliant young playwright in our presence right now, and we need to celebrate her while she's here. So thank you. The next question I have for you, Savannah, is just what was the most challenging part of your playwriting process for the house, especially leading up to draft 4, which is what we shared between last night and tonight?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue that I encountered was in my head, I had a very clear idea of the world, and I had these details and these kind of descriptions in my head, but they weren't necessarily conveyed through the script. And I needed to pick like ways that I could clue the audience in, that I could clue actors in on what exactly I was thinking, because you can't read my mind. So I think just getting specific, to use words we've used before, was the biggest challenge, but I think it's gotten pretty good.
I'm wondering, were there any moments, you were able to experience the first read of the play, and obviously you've watched the virtual reading, the final product. Were there any moments that were vastly different from how you intended them when you wrote them? Or even things that surprised you, or a different interpretation of your work that you didn't see before?
I don't know if anything looks super different than I envisioned it. I think it's more like these fine tweaks, these like fine details that have kind of materialized within the script and were now in the video and everything. I think it's just made the world feel more well-rounded, basically. That's the best word I'm coming up with right now, but it's making the entire picture kind of come into focus.
That's awesome to hear. So I want to encourage our audience members who are tuned in to continue to keep the comments coming. Yes, we have Omar D. Cruz, who played Tony, saying, congratulations, Savannah, this was fun. Thank you, Omar, and thank you for the life that you brought to that character of Tony. Anne says these messages are especially timely now with the pandemic, and I completely agree. Just the focus on loved ones and also memory, and the amount of people who are experiencing loss right now. So being able to watch a family who's also in the midst of loss, I think hits a lot differently than it may have hit if we were just out in the world. Yeah, thank you for that comment. Britt asks, how did you decide where to close the play? Did you know it would end there when you started? That's a great question. Thank you, Britt.
Yeah. So the ending is the same ending that it had when I first wrote it. And I remember when I first wrote it, there was like a very strong instinct in me to like try and redeem Daniel, to somehow make the sale, like reverse it, somehow make him do the right thing. And I tried it, and it just didn't feel realistic. It felt like it would have needed more time for something like that to happen. And that was hard to wrestle with, because the span of the play is 30 plus years. So you like would hope that he'd had the time he needed, but he needed more. And so decided to cut it at the beginning of hopefully a change. And I think audience members can kind of speculate whether or not he actually does kind of come to realize his mistakes after the curtain. So I didn't want to make that decision for people.
Yeah, give people the chance to kind of take their own interpretation and contemplate the themes of your play. Speaking of themes for the audience members, I have a question for you all. Just asking what themes or moments of the play really resonated with you. And the reason I'm asking you all this question is that part of the purpose of this workshop reading process is for Savannah to be able to take this experience into working on her next draft. So we love the congratulations. Keep those coming by all means. But if there were any certain moments that really stood out, we would love to hear what those were. So yeah, thank you in advance for your participation in that. One of the things I wanted to ask you too is just what are the things that you would like to explore in your next draft?
Yeah, I really want to explore the characters of Tom and Tony more. And I feel like I always say Tom and Tony, but I feel like personally those are the two characters that I've had to watch grow the most in the last few months. And I wonder if they're there. I just want to do a deeper dive and get the assurance that like they are specific and nuanced and real and not caricaturish in any way.
Yeah, I know that was a concern of yours early on in our process. And I must say, and it might be, you know, attributed to just the talents of the actors who we had, like shout out to Omar Cruz, shout out to Jack Novak, that I saw them so much more differently. You know, like we were concerned, like, are these characters one-sided? You know, do they have enough variation? Do we see the positives and the negatives of their personality? And they were full characters to me. And like, I think that's a testament to just how connected our actors were with your work. So thank you to the entire ensemble for that. One question that came to mind for me. Oh, okay. First, let's address Paul. Hi, Paul. Paul is the chair of YPT's board. Thank you for tuning in. Paul says, congratulations, Savannah. I love the way you chose to structure the ordering of the moments, jumping back and forth in time periods. How did you decide on that structure? Awesome. Thank you, Paul, for that question.
Yeah. So I mentioned that I settled on the word moments because it felt a little more like personal and more family related than just saying scenes. So that's where the titles of the moments came from. But in terms of the going back and forth, I really wanted to play with this idea of things that happened in the past that maybe the brothers didn't even know about that are somehow manifesting in the modern world of the play, which of course takes place in the 1980s. But for our sakes, it's modern. So I wanted to play around with what parallels are we going to see. So yeah, I wanted to go back and forth because I think it's always really interesting to see how our pasts affect our presents. And that's basically where the inspiration for that came from.
Awesome. Another question, and Paul made me think of a question I was just getting ready to ask you, is just what was the experience like for you, or what has it been like for you writing about two different time periods that technically are before your time?
Yeah, it's definitely been very interesting because I have very close family and relatives that live through those time periods. So in a sense, I can kind of ask them firsthand questions, but their experiences are going to be very different from the experiences of the people within my play. It's been a decent amount of like research, and through our sessions, there was one session where you sent me a couple of old like Army produced or generated like movies and videos about following World War II. And I think it was called like Japanese Bride in America. And that was just so interesting for me to watch because even though the main character was Japanese, a lot of what she experienced, it seemed like Lydia was also experiencing in my play. And so I was able to really kind of get those kind of firsthand accounts. Or obviously that one wasn't real. It was like a film, but like these dramatizations of what was actually going on. So it was a lot of research and fun. So
thank you. Jolene Neighbors says, congratulations on such a profound and moving piece. Excellent work. Thank you for that comment, Jolene. I agree. Do we have any other comments from the audience currently? If so, all right, Roberta, thank you. Roberta said, I wanted to see which brother got the painting. Who do you think? So that's something that's actually was addressed in the stage directions, but didn't make it onto the virtual play, which is something that's really interesting about just the mediums of how a story can be told, where, you know, there's a stage direction that Tony walks away with the painting, but there wasn't a way that I could think of in directing this and producing this of, well, how do we show him walk away with the painting when there's not actually a physical painting, you know? So it's one of those things, but Thank you for that question, Roberta. I'm sorry I answered it for you, Savannah, but I just wanted to explain why it's in the play, but it wasn't in the film representation. All right. Britt says, maybe not a theme exactly, but I felt like the interplay between timelines showed me how the past influences the future, how we're in many ways made of those experiences. Yeah, what do you think about that, Savannah? Is that something that you were trying to put forth in your play?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like I mentioned before, I think it's always just really interesting to see how history repeats itself, and like how our pasts affect our present and affect our futures. And I think a lot of times when we focus on history, we focus on like the big things that repeat themselves. But I think that there's also within our family histories certain themes that come up and recur and cycles and everything. So I'm glad that you got that.
Yeah, it makes me think about like what you're talking about patterns repeating themselves and how the different character traits that each of the brothers took on from their parents and how similar those journeys were, you know, with Daniel not fully seeing things and Tom admitting that he didn't see Lydia's struggle and journey, how parallel that is to the relationship with the brothers and what Lydia experienced and what Tony's experiencing. So I thought that was really well done. Are there any other comments or feedback from audience members? Awesome. Roberta says, it was very moving. Love the interplay between the brothers, and kudos to the designer who added the visuals of the house. It added texture and frame to the actor's work. The reason I chuckled, Roberta, is because I'm the one who did that. I'm by no means a designer, but you know, I think that because I've been so tied to Savannah's work through this program and through meeting with her monthly, I've been so engrossed in the script that I, you know, had an idea of what visually it looks like because of the conversations that we were having. So thank you for noticing that and appreciating that aspect of the performance. Britt says, yes, I love how the images were used, both of the rooms and setting, and also the close-ups of the dog tags. I'm glad that resonated for you all. One of the things that we were thinking of producing wise for YPT is how to make this engaging, even though we're not in person. So, you know, all of us are here because we love theater, and there's something so magical about having actors in the same space as you. And when they're not in the same space and there's a screen that's, you know, dividing you between theater, how do you keep people engaged when part of theater is experiencing design, whether it's sound or lights and all that? So yeah, I'm glad that it was resonant and that you all were able to tap into Savannah's play in a way that you may have been able to had we been able to be in person. All right, trying to see if Nathan Gilmore says, love the dynamic between the two brothers throughout. Thank you for that comment, Nathan. And Jolene Neighbor says, I love the generational parallels. Excellent choice. Thank you all. All right. And I'm wondering, Savannah, what would you like to, oh no, I already asked you that question. Do you have any questions for the audience specifically?
The only question I really have is the same one from yesterday. If anything was confusing or you had any questions that you felt were unanswered by the end of the play in a non-positive way, I'd love to hear them.
Awesome. And while folks think about that, I'm wondering just if you're able to expose the audience more to who you are as a playwright. And, you know, a question that I have for you is just what's next for you in your playwriting journey? And also, what else are you working on? What other stories do you have that you plan on telling or that you're currently telling right now?
Yeah, so my hope is to eventually, within the next few years, hopefully, go to graduate school for playwriting. I definitely want to, you know, get that kind of formal training in writing and that kind of thing. Right now, I am working on my thesis play for my major, which is a research-based full-length on Jane Fonda, who is one of my personal idols. And I don't know if I'd ever have the opportunity to write something like this in the future, so I figured I'd take advantage of it now. So that's been really, really cool. Because it's actually based on a paper, a like 27-page paper I wrote my freshman year. Mm-hmm. So it's funny to see how my Dartmouth time has come full circle. I just finished I did a one-person piece last term about my own experiences with obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm going through revisions with that right now. And excited to see where that goes. And yeah, I'm also just trying to graduate right now. I'm in my last couple quarters of my senior year. So needless to say, I've got to tie up some loose ends. But those three projects have been the house, Jane, and then Tell Me I'm Not is the name of my solo show, have been the kind of occupying my creative mind right now.
That's awesome. I'm excited about all of those plays and just all the ideas that you have that you're putting out into the world. I'm wondering, as a playwright, has the pandemic affected your writing process at all?
Process? I don't know. Content, definitely. I think that I had this conversation with my mother a few weeks ago that it's very, I consider myself an optimist, but it's been very hard to keep that kind of outlook, given everything that's gone on in the last year and a half. And I think in the small creative writing things that I've done for classes and for just one-off things in the last few months, I see a little bit more of that kind of like, cynicism isn't the right word, but that's the only word that's coming to my mind right now, coming through in some of my writing. And I don't think that's a permanent thing. And I certainly hope it's not a permanent thing. I like having a very positive outlook on the world. But I think that it is a perspective on reality that I've personally never really explored before. And so I'm open to seeing how that affects my writing. But like I said, I try to stay hopeful.
Thank you for that. Do we have any other comments or feedback from our audience? All right. Well, for everyone who tuned in, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving us 2 evenings of your life to be able to experience Savannah's play. It means a lot. It's such an important part of the process for young playwrights in progress as we develop these scripts that, plays don't happen insularly, in just meetings, that it takes a playwright being able to actually experience their play with actors and to have an audience and understand what's resonating with people. So I thank you all for being part of this process. You all who are tuning in, you all who come and watch this later and leave a comment, you're an integral part of this process. I want to thank everyone for attending. I want to congratulate you again, Savannah. Thank you for being you and for bringing your talent and sharing it with us at YPT. For everyone watching, we'd like to continue the conversation beyond tonight. So please feel free to leave your comments and feedback under this video or the videos of the actual virtual workshop readings for Act 1 and Act 2. For those who registered through YPT's website for this, you'll be receiving a survey where you'll actually be able to submit written feedback. So if you do receive that email, by all means, please fill out the form just so that we have more feedback to give to Savannah, especially if something occurs to you or comes up after this conversation. I also want to encourage everyone to join us again in May of this year, where we'll have our second workshop reading of Savannah's play. It will be the next draft or maybe the draft after the next, we'll see. So it'll not be the same thing that you experienced tonight. So we encourage you to come. The way to find out just about when that's premiering and how that's premiering is to follow us at YPT. You can join us, follow us on our social media channels at YPTDC. You can visit our website, www.yptdc.org, and you could even sign up for our newsletter on the homepage of our website, just so you stay in tune with everything that's happening. You could also explore our YouTube channel, where Savannah has actually done video diaries after each of our monthly meetings, just to find out and get a peek into what her process has been since August of last year. To find out more about YPT and Young Playwrights in Progress, please visit our website, especially if you are a playwright who's wondering if you can engage in this sort of process. We will be taking applications for the program for next year's season coming soon. So please follow us. Any last words, Savannah?
Just thank you for coming. And I hope you're able to come in May too.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Savannah. We appreciate everyone watching, and we hope that you stay well, and good night.